Hey kids, welcome back to another week of Old Man Plays CFL Fantasy. Week turned out not bad for me last week. 118.5 points, I think, got me the win in the CFL Podcasters Fantasy League. So I've clawed my way back to 2-2 there. Had 2 good weeks and 2 not so good weeks. But that's one thing that I will say. If you're going to do this stuff, you've got to be prepared for things to not work. All you can do is go into these weeks, whether you're doing pick'em or fantasy, with your best logic on what's going to happen in the game. And then the games come along, and things like the Toronto-Ottawa game last week, where they get 200-plus yard touchdown returns from a rookie DB that nobody knows much about. You can't predict those things. Don't take it to heart too much if you have a bad week. Looking at this week, well, it's going to be a little bit hard to decide, especially at running back. But our first game is Winnipeg going into Calgary on Thursday night. And this one, Zach went off with that big game last week. But I think picking him this week, expecting him to do it again, that's not his MO. He has 1, maybe 2 of those a year. And I believe they'll probably go back to running a lot. So with Brady back in, Winnipeg is definitely going to be one of my running back spots. But I don't know that I'm all that keen on going after any of them, other than Cedric Wheatfall's been a fairly consistent play. He's gotten at least some points in all the games. He's gotten consistent targets, not necessarily a lot of catches, but he's the big play guy. And then the other one that you could look at in there, of course, is other two, Dalton Schoen or Dembski, but you're kind of guessing who's going to get the looks that time. So I think I may go with Wheatfall again. He worked for me last week. On the other side of the ball again, BA hasn't thrown a touchdown pass yet. He could go off for 3 or 4 this week, depending on how well he's doing and his receivers are doing. But he could also end up throwing none, so I'm very leery about taking him at the quarterback spot. As far as receivers go, well, Barnes has had 2 games with 4 passes and big yards in them both, and then 1 game with nothing. So I'm kind of leery on him. Philpott's been picking up some more there, but again, not necessarily big yards. 1 good game, but the others he's kind of disappeared. So don't know. And again, Mills maybe just because there's got to pick somebody at the running back spot, and I'm going to struggle on that this week. Then that takes us to the next game, which is Hamilton going into Toronto. And frankly, I have a feeling I may go with Bo again this week because that Toronto defense hasn't been that good. He'll pick up yardage. He'll get some touchdowns. Whether they win or not, I'm not sure. I think they will. So the big question there is, who do you team him with? Lawler worked out last week, not bad because he got a touchdown, but not a lot of yardage. White would have been the better play. He got more catches, touchdown, and more yardage. But you don't know from week to week what's it going to be, and they do want to try and get Lawler involved. On the Toronto side of the ball, again, Arbuckle's still in for another week or 2. Ungerer, maybe. He gets a lot of looks, but not a lot of yards. Coxie, of course, does get fewer looks, although he's getting a reasonable number, and he's more of a big yardage guy, and he might get you some touchdowns. And then DeVaris Daniels came in last week and after a week off and really blew it up, so he might be worth considering as well. Those are the ones we got the depth charts for. So we know at least who's playing. The rest of this is a little bit of guesswork, and that takes us to the next night, which would be BC at Montreal. And BC, will Nathan play? I don't know. If he does, then maybe some of their players are worth looking at. Maybe he is, but without the depth chart, it's hard to say, and even with that, I'm sure he'll show up as a game-time decision again. But he's listed as limited again through practice. I'm going to stay away from there, too. And again, on the other side, Davis Alexander is limited through the week of practice. Will we get him or MBT? MBT still might be a reasonable choice to go with, but after that last week, what we saw in Hamilton, it's a bit of a gamble. Anyway, if you are looking for somebody out of those teams to get on your team, well, with BC, Hatcher's probably been about the most consistent one. Jackson is getting more looks as we go along, but not enough that I'd feel really solid with him. And again, Butler might be the running back, although you're going against that Montreal defense. And on the other side of the ball with Montreal, well, Philpott's been hit and miss. He's had a few good weeks. He's had one or two offish weeks. So he's worth a look anyway. Mack has been not bad, but he's been limited in practice, or in fact did not participate, so we're not sure about that. And then so otherwise you're looking at maybe Speaker, who's been getting more looks with MBT in there, or maybe Sneed. I don't think I'm going to go with a running back from Montreal on this one because, well, BC is susceptible to the run. I don't know if Montreal will even run the ball after their last week. So again, I'm a little bit gun-shy there. And then that takes us to the last game of the week, where Ottawa goes into Edmonton. And the big question there is, will Drew Brown play? If he does, him and, say, Eugene Lewis, who's been getting looks and a fair number of yards, might be a good play. Him and Pimpleton might be, who's also been there. Addison gets a lot of looks but less yardage. So those could all be good plays if Brown is in the game. If he's not, then I would be staying away from them. And again, we won't see the depth charts until Saturday on that one. So that's a harder one to try and pick with. Edmonton, Trey's a possibility. He's been looking better, but I think it's still a bit early to be jumping over to that. And other than that, Dunbar's got a lot of looks and a reasonable number of yards. But that's pretty much it. So as you can see, we're going to struggle on some of this. I have a feeling that we're going to be putting a lot of the band from last week back together because it gave me good points, and I don't see any real reason for that to change. Let's fire up the game zone on the computer here. Okay, here we go. And we said that we wanted to start at quarterback, and I was fairly sure I was going to take Bo, who is, 15K. So that will be a little bit expensive, but I think I'm still worth going to it. So the wide receivers, last week we had Kenny Lawler teamed up with Bo. We could go Tim White. Is he marginally more expensive this week? Tim White is. So we'll go with Lawler again. We'll go with Tyson Philpott again. I believe he did good for us. And then we're looking for Wheatfall from Winnipeg in the flex position. There we go. Running backs, we definitely wanted Oliveira in here. He should be somewhere near the top at 14K. Yes, he is. So that leaves us only 10 for another running back and a defense. And that's going to be a bit tough. So let's see, running backs. Let's say we split that in half and we go, let's try and keep, splitting in half would be 4 to 6K. And I don't really see anybody there that I like. Attaboy, maybe. He'll probably get more work than Stanback would if the way the last game went. Let's go up a bit. So we could get Leak at that price, or we could get Thomas Erlington. But as I said, I'm staying away from that game, I think. And Benjamin, no, definitely not there. So, let's see what else can we get here. Let's go, if we go drop down a little bit. Well, there's Johnny Augustine, and he could be a good play if he gets to play. Let's put him in for now and keep an eye on that situation. Frankly, if he doesn't look like he's getting good playing time, then I'll probably switch it over to Attaboy. And I can do that because I believe they were in the same price range. I thought anyway, or very close to it. Where's Attaboy? He's 5'8", and Johnny Augustine was 3'1". So there's 2.5 there. I'll have to see what I can do with the defenses then. So if I go that way, my defenses, I've got how much left? 7.5. So 7.5 means I could get Ottawa, BC, or Hamilton. Let's see then. We don't know what's going on with the quarterback in Montreal. Philpott didn't get big points with MBT last week. Let's see, what if we switch him up and we go for a wide receiver here, and we go Price here, but we set it for that 6 to 8. See if we can save ourselves some. And whoops. Then we're looking at the wide receivers there. And who jumps up? Well, Wheatfall we've already got. Speaker could be one. The rest of them, there's a few here. Smith has disappeared in Hamilton, so I'm not going that way. So what about if I put DeVaris Daniels, who came in last week after injury and blew up pretty big, did a good job. That leaves me on defense 10.2K. That would give me the Montreal defense against, hopefully, Jeremiah Masoli, and that's not bad. It leaves me 0.1K left over. So there would be the team Montreal Alouettes defense. Mitchell at quarterback teamed up with Lawler at the wide receiver. The running backs at this point will be Oliveira and Augustine. My other wideout will be DeVaris Daniels and Wheatfall in the flex. So now we're going to keep an eye on this whole thing and see what happens on Friday night. If Bell gets the start, then I will probably move over to Adeboye as my running back, which means I'll have to back off and go to one of the other defenses, but they're all later in the week anyway. So that's what I think we're going to do. Oh, I need to make a captain. Oliveira or Mitchell? Big choice. Who's going to have the better game? You know what? I'm going to take a wild chance, and if I lose on it, I will. I hate going somebody other than a quarterback for double points, but Oliveira could just have a crazy game. So that's it. They're saved. They're locked in for another week. Okay, so them's my picks. As always, use them at your peril if you so choose. I hope that you have a great week of CFL Fantasy. I hope we have a great week of CFL football. And other than that, subscribe. Check out our main show, the CFL Outsiders, that drops Wednesdays, usually at 4 if my editing is done on time. But do all that other stuff that helps get the word out there. We're starting to grow the channel a bit here, and it feels good. It's nice to know some of you are listening in and enjoying this stuff. So help us out. Leave a comment. Share it around on other social media platforms and in real life. All that stuff. Until next week, Old Man signing off.